Hello, everybody. Hello, I'm Kathy Frey, and welcome to this IMCO Maternity Natural Health Symposium webinar. It is just great to have you here. And today we have Kerry, who I'm going to shortly introduce you to, who's our Hypnobabies queen. And thank you all for joining us here at the IMCO webinars. IMCO, of course, is the Integrative International Maternity Healthcare Organisation. And now, before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping things. So those of you that are signing in, if you could please go to the chat button, which is down the bottom of your screen, and do type in and let us know where you are in the world, and whether in your situation, if you are a birth practitioner or a natural therapist or a mum who's expecting a baby. And also down the bottom, there is a Q&A button. So if you want to ask Kerry anything today, you can just type that all in there. We will make sure we get through those questions today. And so Kerry, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here. Kerry is the founder and director of Hypnobabies Childbirth Hypnosis. And she's a nationally renowned, well, she's nationally because that's talking about America, but actually she's quite internationally renowned speaker and writer on a very wide range of women's pregnancy and childbirth concerns. Her topics of specialty include prenatal and childbirth choices and informed consent issues and health and low-risk status concerns, comfort in childbirth, the power of birth language, and of course midwifery advocacy. And as a childbirth educator for the past 3 decades, that's 30 years as a doula and hypnotherapist, Kerry has developed many educational programs for birthing mothers and for the medical and childbirth professionals and the hypnotherapists. So Kerry is the teacher of the teachers. And these efforts have all become immensely popular and started quite a chain reaction, which she'll tell you about, of sort of interest to the way that we change how women give birth and how we as women think of caring for our newborns and the way natural childbirth is perceived by the general public as well as the medical community. There's a wonderfully important changes of movement of change. And Kerry created a very comprehensive natural childbirth program of her own, which is called the Hypnobabies Childbirth Education, which she's going to explain to us today. And it's a very unique program, one that I'm very excited about and very excited to learn more about. And she's trained hundreds of thousands of women to use this medical grade hypnosis techniques and to give birth unmedicated, which is a much easier and more comfortable way, which I can certainly, as a midwife who's done a lot of home births and a lot of birth centre births, totally verify absolutely that it, if you learn these techniques, it can make your labour and your baby's birth way easier and more comfortable. But let's start, Kerry, with the real basis or basic understanding of that basic question of what is hypnosis and what is self-hypnosis. Can you explain a little bit about those two?
I certainly can, and thank you for having me. Hypnosis is usually thought of as what people see on the stage, people acting silly, or maybe a nightclub show or something like that. But real therapeutic hypnosis is a state of very focused concentration. And that is a state where the mind and the body relax together. And when they do that, then we can access the subconscious mind. we use a deep somnambulistic type of hypnosis, and I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit more. But when we say that all hypnosis is self-hypnosis, basically that is because nobody directs you or nobody makes you do anything. So you enter hypnosis, you accept the suggestions in the hypnotic scripts or patter or audio track or whatever you're listening to, if you want to or not, and then you emerge from hypnosis if you want to. Sometimes it feels so good, people just lay there when the hypnosis is done. But so you're completely in control. So all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. The voice you're hearing is just a guide. It's
Right.
just a guide to help you go more deeply into hypnosis if that feels comfortable for you, accept the suggestions, and then when it's time, come back out. But you're always in charge, 100%.
Okay, so then how and why did you create Hypnobabies childbirth hypnosis? So what's that sort of, I guess we're talking about that specialty of hypnosis within childbirth. So explain that a little bit deeper.
Okay, well, it starts a long time ago when I was having my own children. And I was already a childbirth educator with a method at that time that where you just were supposed to deeply relax. So I had both of my children 4 years apart screaming my head off because
Right.
that was just not, I mean, I wanted natural childbirth. Many people want natural childbirth, and that means birth without medication, no epidural, no narcotics. You're basically getting through it with deep relaxation. And that's good because it helps, deep relaxation helps you to maybe avoid a little bit of the pain that you would have if you were tensing up. But as far as literally retraining the mind, there was none of that. So I was screaming my head off.
Right.
So during the second birthing, I decided that there had to be another way. About that time, there was some interest in hypnosis for childbirth, so I went and got trained. This is 25 years ago now. I went and got trained with a regular hypnobirthing program and started to teach that, but it was not what I was looking for. I was looking for a very deep form of hypnosis because I also was studying hypnosis on the side, and I found Gerald Kine's Painless Childbirth program. Now, he was a master hypnotist. He's gone now, just as of last year, I think. But he created a program by talking to women about what they would like in a birthing experience as a hypnotist.
Right.
And
So
he
it
found,
was almost like he was starting with the end result. Say, where do you, yeah, how do you want this to be? And it's sort of work backwards from there.
yeah, so he put things in there like being able to walk around, be mobile, and still deeply in hypnosis. Things for each stage of birthing, which I thought was pretty cool. And then, so I studied that and I asked him if it would be okay, because I was a childbirth educator, if I took that program, because it was just for hypnotherapists one-on-one to do in their office with the moms. I said, can I put this into a childbirth education program? So the whole thing. And he said, I cannot wait to see what you create. So I did, and I added some hypnosis in there for the birth partners because they get nervous too.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other things. And oh my gosh, it just took off like a shot. It just had a life of its own.
Wow. It's
Um,
so exciting.
and that's what I was looking for, because this type of hypnosis that he was teaching in his program, which I put into Hypnobabies, is a medical grade somnambulistic hypnosis. And what that means is it takes you down so many layers or levels of hypnosis that you can create what's called hypnoanesthesia. And hypnoanesthesia can be used by people, and is used by people who are allergic to medical anesthetics. So they can have surgery anyway, even though they're allergic to those medical anesthetics, they have to have the surgery, so they work with a hypnotist ahead of time.
Yes,
and they're
and
in
a
hypnosis
lot of
during
us,
the
I think,
surgery.
yeah, I think a lot of us have heard of that situation where people have not needed anesthesia because they've self-hypnotized, which sounds amazing. Um, and then I would have to say, when I see women who are in the middle of labor in that self-hypnotic state, well, they look just as amazing. It is an incredible thing to witness, isn't it?
It
Um,
is. It is.
yeah,
I didn't want anybody to go through what I went through with my births. I wanted to
yeah,
find something that was like magic.
great.
Now, Hypnobabies is not magic because it all the techniques are always the same. There's a series of techniques that you have to practice ahead of time and on schedule. Like, they are regimented because they work. So you start with one track and you go to the next one and you go to the next one and so forth, and you practice these techniques so that your inner mind will become retrained. It's basically like continually updating your software.
That's
And at the
brilliant.
end,
So that is,
yeah,
and that system is what we call is basically the Hypnobabies sort of system. Well, what gestation does that do women ideally need to be sort of starting to look at, getting their mind into that place?
our students normally, or most of them, will start between 28 and 30 weeks of pregnancy. The
Right.
course is 6 weeks long, and then they have a period of time in which we call maintenance. So they're listening to
Mm.
one main hypnosis track a day, and it's rotating through 7 tracks for 7 days, and then you start over again until the baby is born. And what that does is it keeps reinforcing the software. It's called compounding.
Oh, that
And
makes so
compounding
much
is
sense.
huge in the hypnosis world.
Right.
You know,
Okay.
the more that you compound a technique or a cue, the stronger it gets, and it builds on itself the more that you compound. So the moms who learn, practice, and use Hypnobabies as directed have a better time during their birthing time.
Oh,
Now, does everybody
absolutely.
have a pain-free birth? No, they don't. But Hypnobabies isn't about having a pain-free birth. And I just want to make sure that everybody watching this understands that Hypnobabies is about having the easiest and most comfortable birthing that you can have. And many of our moms have pain-free births, yes. Many of them have what we call comfortable births, which means it's, comfortable up to a certain point, and then it gets more tough. But the techniques and cues are always the same. So we want our moms to learn, practice, and use them as directed, not a few tracks here and a few tracks there, or somebody lent me these, but I don't want to do those. It doesn't work that way. And every hypno mom has a better birthing, because automatically you are more relaxed. But the hypnosis is
Absolutely.
what takes it over the edge. Okay, the
Okay.
somnambulistic hypnosis.
So with hypnobodies, what are the main benefits of using hypnosis for childbirth? Now, as I mentioned, as a midwife, I would have to say it is that self hypnosis, or what I sort of tend to sometimes describe as um, uh, almost like self meditation within that labor. That's a word I've tended to use, but it is absolutely the most powerful pain management technique I ever witnessed. And those women, when they are not adrenaline dominant from fear and anxiety, but they are oxytocin dominant because they are so chilled out, and their cervixes just open. It's amazing to watch. And so I see that aspect of it. I see that the labors are quicker, basically. And when you've got a faster dilatation, you don't need to be using other forms of pain management. You get through it. But from your perspective, are there other benefits that you can explain about as well?
Well, obviously, the helping to eliminate or make easier any discomforts of childbirth is huge. The deep relaxation is huge. The fact that you start out calm and relaxed, and then everybody around you sees that you're calm and relaxed, and
Mm.
so they're more calm and relaxed. The baby actually comes out more in a more relaxed way as well. And I'll tell you why that's important, because I'm all into natural childbirth, and I had two births where my babies came out and hearing me scream in pain. And I don't think that's the best way for a baby to be born, is hearing that voice
Yeah.
that they've been hearing all these months screaming. And then the mom is just full of adrenaline. And some moms, including myself, couldn't even hold the baby after that
Mm.
because they're just so full of adrenaline from the pain. Um, the mom also has a really amazing association between the birthing and the baby. The
Yes.
baby.
Yes, I so agree. And
Oh,
from what I see is sometimes I describe it as purring. It's like the babies come out and they're so settled, and and quite often women will say, or the family might say, oh, the baby's not crying. Like, is it okay? It's not crying. And well, clearly it's okay because it's just looking around the world. It's when we don't have a baby that's not breathing here. This baby's looking around, but they just seem so much more content. It's quite extraordinary to watch. But actually, I'll just pause us there, and I'll just have a little look-see at some of these chat comments coming in, because it's so interesting. If you've just signed on not long ago, do perhaps put your go into the chat at the bottom of the screen and let us know where you are from and what your background is. So that's just really interesting. And also reminded that there's a Q&A little button down the bottom of the screen if you've got any particular questions from Kerry.
um, while you're reading those, can I just tell people a little bit about hypnosis for pregnancy?
Yes, yes, do.
Okay.
Okay.
So one thing I wanted to make sure people understand is that you can use hypnosis for pregnancy discomforts, for things like keeping the baby in if there's preterm labor. For instance, Hypnobabies has a track called Baby Stay In that literally you listen to, you go into hypnosis, and it helps because the mind controls the body completely. It helps keep everything from opening up until it's safe for the baby to be born. Conversely, we have one called Come Out Baby, which helps the mind and body relax and release all the muscles around the baby and tension in the mind, the heart, everything, emotions, and let the baby out if it's time for, the mom's mind, body, and baby are ready. Um, we have uses for hypnosis with eliminating nausea and fear of needles. There's a lot of moms out there and kids and people who are have a fear of needles, and we have a track for that. So during pregnancy and even in birthing, that's a really good one to have. You can use it for sleep, where our most popular track is called Peaceful Sleep Now. There's so many other uses for hypnosis during pregnancy, and just doing Hypnobabies can help alleviate a huge amount of anxiety. There are so many moms who come into about halfway through their pregnancy, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be giving birth, and they start being filled with anxiety. But
Yes.
as soon as you start with this Hypnobabies childbirth hypnosis tracks and affirmations and everything, the anxiety just starts to flow away, because
It's so
everything from
true.
the outside in and
Mm.
from the inside out in Hypnobabies is about being relaxed and positive, and it really helps with anxiety. So those are a few things that you can use hypnosis for pregnancy.
And I think that is so, so valuable, Kerry, because there is a general awareness of using self-hypnosis within childbirth. But the fact that, yes, you could be using it all that time through the pregnancy. And in fact, the more that you are using it, the more effective, I find anyway, that it becomes with the childbirth, because women are used to finding that place, finding that center. And, because often between contractions, that's what you need to do. You need to, sort of go in and out almost a little bit. And you can find that place a lot quicker when you've had all that experience and practice through that antenatal period. So let's just have a look who we've got here. And we've got Hi from Freya, midwife from England. And then we've got Ramona. She's in North Carolina and she's pregnant. I wonder what your gestation is. And we've got a few doulas here. That's fantastic. So they're all here learning from you. Just
That's great.
A wonderfully suited qualified doula. Here we go. And we've got Anna from Hypnobirthing and a doula from Auckland, New Zealand. Doula Postpartum from Great Barrington in Massachusetts. And that's, what else have we got? An OOH licensed midwife. I'm not actually sure what that means. Can you tell us what that means? No? Okay.
I
don't
know.
I haven't heard of
Sorry.
that. Oh, that's good. And women's health physiotherapist from Australia. Brilliant. Another pregnant mum to be from Boulder, Colorado. Another doula, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Another midwife from, here's one not far from me actually. She's in northern Auckland, New Zealand, near the Wellsford Birth Centre. And antenatal educator. This is great. And we've got another childbirth educator from India. A comment here from Odessa. She's a birth doula whose clients take the Hypnobabies training and have had the most amazing, peaceful and shorter births, she's saying there.
We hear that a lot.
Yeah. And Ramona was 26 weeks. Oh, that's so funny. I find that with women, when they get close to that beginning of that third trimester, it is when they suddenly go, oh heck, this baby needs to come out, right?
That's right.
Because at the beginning, it's all about which scan shall I have, and then that 20-week scan where you can find out the sex of the baby perhaps, and have your reveal party for the baby sex, and then have the plan the baby shower and plan the baby moon, and then suddenly you're sort of like, oh my goodness, I'm 2/3 through. I really need to actually learn about birth. It's almost like it sneaks up. Physiotherapist from India, out of hospital birth practitioner. So it's just wonderful. On a yoga instructor and birth doula. So look, absolutely wonderful to have you all here. So now I've got some other things that I've got here that I really would like to ask you about. So do you have to have a partner with the Hypnobabies sort of system, or can you do it alone? How does that work? If you've got a partner who needs to stay at home with the kids while you labour, which is a shame, but so not everybody's got babysitters. So how does that work?
Well, in Hypnobabies, we actually designed the program so that moms could do it either way. So we do
Wow.
have quite a lot for the birth partners to do if they want to get involved.
Mhm.
And many do. There are many birth partners who just want to be right there in every stage of the pregnancy and birthing and just be that, rock for that mom.
Yeah.
And so we have a lot of things for them to do, and they get their own hypnosis track to listen to so that they'll be nice and calm for the mom. And that's a real gift to the mom as well as the birth partner.
Yes.
But yes, there's quite a lot for the birth partners to do. However, the moms can do this completely on their own. Anyone can do it completely on their own. Um, all you have to do is listen to the tracks, and they basically do that software update every single day, and that compounding every single day. You have to listen to them on schedule. And then when you're in your birthing, you have different ways that you can use Hypnobabies. You have tracks that are specifically for your birthing, several of them that keep you in hypnosis and keep, basically deepening your hypnosis and enriching and reinforcing all of the cues and techniques that you have been retraining yourself with. So it's like having a birth partner in your ear, only it's me
Yeah. I
actually in
think,
your
and
ear.
that's quite unique, that you're saying that it is so possible to do it as a woman who doesn't have any particular birth support there, which is so critical, particularly in the times of COVID, when the amount of people that you can have in the room is getting limited. And at the end of the day, it is only the woman that can do it for herself anyway. And so whether that's you've got somebody that's there cheering you on or massaging your back in person, when you look at those women who take control of their labor and take their ownership of it and do that self hypnosis, it is nobody can do it for them. But having that conversation with the tracks must be so
I,
empowering.
I also want to say this, that there are moms who have birth partners and or don't have birth partners that also just want to use the techniques and cues in their head. So it's
Mhm.
not necessary that you have the tracks on all the time.
Yes.
Every single day during your pregnancy, you've been listening to these tracks, compounding and updating your software, right? So when you get in your birthing time, all you have to do is mentally push the button by using those cues and techniques in your head. They're verbal cues and physical cues. And then bam, there's your new software right there for
It's
you.
absolutely wonderful.
So they
And
don't
tell
have to
me,
listen the whole time.
and sometimes, do you think that there's almost a concern for some women that they think that because they're so self-hypnotized that it almost distances them from their own childbirth experience, or makes them not quite so close to their baby? Or do you think there's which in my witnessing, that doesn't happen, but I know that women sometimes wonder about that. What's your commentary on that?
I have heard that people are concerned about that, but that's not the case.
Hmm.
The moms are completely in touch with their body, their babies, everything that's going on in the room. They can be hyper aware of it if they want to be. So it's just on the periphery as far as what's going on in the room. They can be completely unaware of it if they like, or they can be very aware of it. But as far as their bodies and their babies, they're very, very in touch and in tune with it the entire time. And in fact, maybe even more, because they're
Yes.
not afraid of the next birthing wave. That's what we call contractions. They're
Yeah.
not afraid of that. They're actually using their visualization to help imagine the baby moving down and the cervix and birth canals widening and opening up for the baby. And that visualization, as Ina May Gaskin said, really helps that whole thing to happen without fear. And you mentioned fear before. That is a huge thing in Hypnobabies. So we have fear clearing before, while you're still pregnant, and we have fear clearing during the birthing. So when you're entering your birthing time, you don't have fear. You're not afraid of what's going to happen. You are 100% prepared, and you can
Absolutely.
just let
And
all
that,
that go.
yes, I totally agree. And it's and you know, I call it layering the education through that prenatal period, which is exactly what you're talking about, of, you know, listening to that same information, and you layer it and layer it and layer it, and it just more and more empowers you, and it becomes like a new norm. Well, why would you be fearful about this? You are completely empowered with what you're doing. Um,
Exactly.
yeah. And
And
so tell me too, also, what's the, there's another term that we've heard, which is Hypnobabies, eyes open childbirth hypnosis. Now, what's that all about?
okay, it's really cool. Um, when I was teaching another birthing method, hypno dash birthing method, I was a doula for my students. And I noticed that if they didn't move, they had a much easier time of staying in hypnosis. And that's not really practical when you're having a baby. So in Hypnobabies, we have what we called eyes open childbirth hypnosis. And that means that you can walk, talk, move around, change positions, do anything you want to do, and still remain deeply in hypnosis and comfortable. And that makes a huge difference. That is really, really a big deal thing for moms who want to be active.
Yes,
They want to
and
use
that
those positions
level of,
for moving the baby down, for opening their bodies up, but they don't want to lose their hypnosis. And the eyes open part comes obviously in between birthing waves. They can have their eyes open, move around, change positions, eat and drink, talk, everything. And then when a birthing wave comes again, they close their eyes and they go deeper. And it's just this beautiful, we call them birthing waves because it's a system of wave-like movement throughout your birthing time. Eyes open, eating and drinking, eyes closed, birthing wave. Eyes open, moving around, changing positions, eyes closed, birthing wave. And
absolutely,
it
that's
just works
beautiful,
fabulously.
beautiful description of it. Yes, you know, and it's amazing to watch.
Yes.
Yeah. um, and seeing the woman, that, which is what I mentioned before, that going in and going out, and you know, especially when the contractions are, say, you know, every three, say a minute long, every 3 minutes, and you know, there's that couple of minutes in between, and I often would say to women that it's, you need to smile and to laugh and to be sort of in that happy place in between, and it makes such a difference. And then as they sort of head into that transition period where the contractions are longer and closer together, so you could be having, you know, 4 or 5 contractions every 10 minutes that are, you know, a minute and a half long, so there's not a lot of gap in between. And don't you find that they sort of, they come less sort of in and out, and they just, they can,
Yes.
at that stage, they're just the whole time they're in that place. And amazing, amazing to watch. But I like the fact that you have a term for it, you know, eyes open childbirth hypnosis. It's like, it's saying it's something that exists, that can be, that you can learn. It's a technique. Um, yeah, which is just so great. Now we've got some, I do have a question here. Oh, this is from Australia. Um, and just asking, are the classes available online? Are there practitioners working in Australia? Oh, and are there any research papers or large sort of samples of that hypnosis outcome? So yes, some good questions there.
Well, with Hypnobabies, we have Hypnobabies instructors in the US, some in Canada. There are 2 in Australia. There are a couple in Germany right now. And we're hoping to open Hypnobabies up to the rest of the world as far as having actually live in-person classes. Speaking of that, though, the live in-person Hypnobabies instructors classes are now being done remotely
Right.
because everyone's doing Zoom meetings instead of
Yeah.
meeting because it's safer. However, we do have an online Hypnobabies home study course that is being used all over the world, everywhere. You just order it online. You can do it at your own pace. It's the exact same curriculum, exact same tools and techniques. So
Okay.
very available, and that just you need to go to hypnobabies-store.com to find that. As far
Okay.
as studies go, there have been a few studies here and there, but they are not, how do I put this nicely? There are studies where they took like one recording and had a group of women listen to that hypnosis recording, and that was all they got. And then the other group
Right.
of women got nothing, just kind of a regular antenatal class, relaxation, that sort of thing. You know, and of course they saw the benefits of the moms doing the one hypnosis recording. That's not Hypnobabies.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
Hypnobabies is like the
Mm.
big kahuna. It's the big deal thing. It's serious. We have 19 tracks in our course that go one after the other that you listen to in a specific schedule for a reason,
Yes.
because it works. And they help retrain that inner mind to what you want. We even have tracks that help to turn a breech baby or a posterior baby, because the mind controls the body completely. So it has to be structured. It can't be, any study can't be like what they've done before. I would
Yes.
love it if they would do one on Hypnobabies. I'm not paying for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's one of the issues, of course, is that is how do these studies get funded? And you know, it's the same thing within or similar within other areas of naturopathic, homeopathic type healing within maternity, because of course the pharmaceutical companies aren't going to be researching anything that they can't earn royalty income on. So now what we're left with is really, you know, somebody perhaps doing a midwifery doctorate or something who might choose to do that particular topic, and because the university will then fund it. But yeah, it's a very tricky situation with research, and you know, there's so much research on so many things that we could be doing, but there's not necessarily the funds to create that piece of research. And then on top of that, there's always that issue of the university ethics committees, of course, where we can't do any kind of research on anything to say, is this harmful or not harmful? Because no woman will participate in something that could be
Exactly.
harmful, right? And I remember
Exactly.
seeing some research. I was looking at a paper that was doing that did some research on women receiving physiotherapy massage on their sacrum during labor and those that didn't. And I remember reading it thinking, oh my God, who wants to be in the group that's not allowed to receive that? Like, every
Exactly.
woman needs this sacrum massage during labor. How could you do a study and say, oh, you can't have it?
I know.
So it's like the fact that you would say that some woman can't have access to something is almost cruel. So it is a tricky area to produce, really, you know, that empirical double-blind trial kind of, you know, study research results on. And of course, you know, doing something statistical is really tricky when you're talking about something that's basically a mind, body, spirit type of situation. So let me see what else we've got here of questions. So, hi, we've got Barbara Stern here from Sacramento, California. My field of interest is infant parent mental health as a licensed marriage family therapist. So do you know about the Association of Prenatal and Perinatal Psychology and Health, or DONA, here in the USA? Oh, okay. So yeah, I think that's probably a message for me. And yeah, is that a association you're familiar with yourself, Kerry?
APA, APPAH.
I know about APA, but this one was DONA.
DONA is the Doulas of North America.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's a very large doula organization. They train doulas and do a lot of really great stuff. We love them.
Yes. Okay. So no. Yes. If you're asking, do I know about APA? Yes, we do. And in fact, we're lining up them to be speaking on this series as well.
Fabulous organization.
Yeah. We
fabulous.
Just kind of coordinate dates. They're amazing.
They are
amazing people. And so yes, we are aware of them and want to introduce them to sort of the rest of the world, really. But okay, so tell us also what we haven't covered off yet, which was in the title, is what other uses are there for hypnosis in the postpartum?
Well, very postpartum, right after the baby is born, our moms can still use their hypnosis for when they massage the abdomen. And so they have practiced their hypnoanesthesia and used it during their birthing time, which is what we call labor. And now they can use it for the postpartum time when the placenta is coming out, when their uterus is being massaged back down to size a little bit for several days, that sort of thing. After pains, they can use it for that. But we also have, I'm so sorry. That was a timer. So we have a wonderful breastfeeding track, and I suggest that all moms who want to breastfeed and never have breastfed or had breastfeeding problems before use hypnosis to relax themselves. It has suggestions for making more milk and relaxing with the baby, and relaxing about breastfeeding to allow letdown. There's a lot of really great things in there. There's a track we have called After Your Baby Comes, which basically helps you to feel really great as a new mom, sleep in sync with your baby, sleep deeper but in sync with your baby. And it's a great one for moms who have done Hypnobabies, are missing their daily hypnosis and still want to hear it and have some benefits of it. So as a new mom,
I think it makes so much sense, because particularly when you've had sort of months of building that up, and and let's face it, in pregnancy it tends to be all about the birth. And then you get through that, and it's almost like you would have lost a little bit of a lifeline. Well, now what do I start telling myself? Now what do I start thinking about? And I really love the fact that you guys do one particularly on breastfeeding, because that does produce a lot of tension for women.
It can.
Emotionally, mentally, especially if if they've got a history of having challenging times. And there's that sort of, there's almost like a little bit of trauma that they can carry with them from a previous negative experience of breastfeeding. And yet, we know if that woman is not able to relax, she's not going to have the same letdown. She's not going to have the same milk flow. She's not going to have the same milk production. So, gosh, it would be amazing to supply every woman, even if those that have had a booked cesarean for a justifiable medical reason, to be able to have that that, you know, it's like you want them to leave their birth postnatal facility with a recording in hand and say, listen to this for your breastfeeding, so you can
Exactly.
get into that zone. So listen to it sort of between breastfeeding or during breastfeeding. How does that work?
No, you don't listen to any hypnosis tracks when you're holding a baby. Because it's deep hypnosis, and you know,
Right.
you could be breastfeeding the baby on the floor in a minute. Um,
We don't
so
want that one. It's not a good look.
no. So you listen to it when maybe baby is napping or you're going to sleep at night and everybody's asleep, that sort of thing. You want to make sure that, and then the suggestions get in there. They too are retraining your inner mind for specific reason. You know, easier let down, more comfortable let down, plenty of milk. You know, being in sync with the baby and the baby's needs, all of that. So those messages, those hypnotic suggestions get programmed into your subconscious mind. And then when you need them, then they're right there like new software again.
It's just so good. It's so good. And I mean, we know that this works. This is how gold medalists become gold medalists these
Yes.
days, right? It's used
Yes.
everywhere in that success area. So of course we should be using that when we, as women, doing the most hugest transition of our entire lives, and suddenly sort of dropped in the middle of needing to learn a whole new set of skills that we've never needed to know before, and to feel comfortable with it all. Now we'll need to wind it up soon. I just want to check any other questions. So if anybody's got any final questions that you would like to ask Kerry, please do type them into that Q&A. I see that there's one here from Ritika, who is a Lamaze childbirth educator, and she's just asking, can she read any book or resources to enhance the knowledge from a practical aspect on the Hypnobabies?
If she wants to know about Hypnobabies, the best thing to do is to go on our website and just start at the top. There's a menu of all kinds of information about Hypnobabies and that sort of thing, and then poke around the website because there's a lot of them. Another really cool thing to do to learn about Hypnobabies is to read our birth stories. We have a link, obviously, on the homepage of hypnobabies.com that directs you to our birth stories page, and on there it's like home birth stories, hospital stories, birth center stories, breech stories, cesarean stories, induction stories, and it is phenomenal to read these. And these stories were not written by us, they were written by moms, Hypnobabies moms, who sent them to us
Oh, that is
because they
absolutely
love their
brilliant.
births.
And
And
women, don't you find that women during pregnancy, especially with their first pregnancy or a second pregnancy, when they had a childbirth experience previously that went to custard, and when I find that when women do start to again layer those stories, you know, the more stories that they read, the more normal it all becomes.
yes,
You know, because so often over, well, let's say over, you know, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, it was not normal for a woman to be going into labor having never seen a labor. You know, before that, women, you know, as young teenagers, they would be there as a birth assistant to their big sister's birth or to their cousin's birth or their auntie's birth or their mother's birth. And now women, when they go into labor, it's often the very first labor they've ever seen. So
yep,
and it's so overwhelming. So having those layers of stories is
definitely. And
valuable.
one more thing I wanted to mention is that
Please do.
Hypnobabies is a complete childbirth education course. So our moms are taught everything, nutrition and exercise and staying healthy and low risk and stages of birthing and how to use hypnosis for an easier pregnancy and just everything, preparing for the birthing, transition, which we call transformation, pushing and postpartum and introduction to breastfeeding and new mom and baby care, everything. And
Wow.
that is super, super important for all moms now. I know there's kind of a trend with the newer generation to not take any childbirth education. No, you want the childbirth education.
So crazy, isn't it? I mean, you know, how many hours do we spend learning to drive a car before we get a license?
Right.
You know, and then we spend what 3, 4, 5, 6 years at university to get our job, and we're not going to educate on childbirth. It's like, it's just nuts. Actually, I will wind it up soon, but another question that's come in, not that we don't want these webinars to be a sales pitch. We're not heading down that track. And but the thing is that what we've got on these webinars are people who are specialist experts in their various fields. And so, of course, they will have some product behind that. And I know from knowing you, Kerry, that you're not about saying, oh, hey, we're the best thing since sliced bread. You embrace everybody that's out there teaching about, teaching ways that women can birth better. But I have got the question come in, so we will answer that. Can you explain what the cost is for women to be doing this?
Okay. Our online course is $180. And obviously everything that you need is included. If you take a Hypnobabies live class with an instructor, it's going to be more, anything from $250 to maybe $450, because you're getting personalized instruction throughout the entire thing.
Right.
And a birthing rehearsal in class number 6, which we can't do online, but that your instructor will walk you through. And of course, getting your questions answered immediately in class is also of great benefit. So
I love the fact that you say birthing rehearsal. I've used that term myself, and I haven't heard many people say it. And I'm like, well, you have a rehearsal dinner for a wedding. You should be rehearsing what's going to happen for the birth. I so agree. That's just fantastic. Well, look, we're really out of time. We've kind of gone over time. But Kerry, is there anything else that you'd like to add before we wind it up? Anything we haven't covered off?
No, I mean, I live and eat and breathe helping women have a better birthing. And I do want to give some kudos to the other programs out there. There are other childbirth programs out there of all kinds, not just hypno childbirth programs, but the Lamases and Bradleys and ICEAs and everybody. And because you are all helping women have a better birthing and helping them to educate themselves in what natural, normal, physiological birthing is, to me, you're all heroes. And I'm saying that from my heart, because anyone who helps a mom have a better birthing is right up there. And so I just want to give a lot of praise and kudos to the other programs, but also the doulas and the midwives, because they're in the trenches with the moms, right there, holding their hands, looking in their eyes, and loving them up during their birthing. And there is nothing better than that. So thank you all.
Thank you so much, Kerry, for your time today. And thank you to everybody who came in live. You will be receiving an email in the next sort of day or so that will give you a link to watching this webinar again if you want to watch it again, or certainly feel free to pass the link on. And thank you all for being part of IMCO, international integrated maternity healthcare organization, and we're here to create that sort of umbrella of that communication, particularly between the birth practitioners, the obstetricians, midwives and doulas, with our naturopathic therapists. And let's just thank you so much for your time, and thanks for everybody for jumping on board today. And we'll send you love, and we'll both say goodbye. So we will see you all later. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.